Dr. Elena Vasquez stared at the neurological scan displayed on her holographic projector, her violet eyes tracing the damaged pathways that had stolen a young woman's ability to walk. The Zephyrian patient, Lyra Moon Whisper, lay motionless on the medical bed, her silver-scaled legs unmoving beneath the diagnostic field. 10 years had passed since the mining accident on Kepler 442b had severed her spinal cord, and every medical expert in the Galactic Federation had declared her condition irreversible. The neural pathways are completely severed, Dr. Kethvar, the lead Arcturian physician, explained to the assembled medical team. His crystalline features remained emotionless as he gestured toward the scan. The damage occurred at the L2-L3 vertebrae. Our best regenerative technology has failed to restore function. The patient should consider permanent mobility assistance. Elena frowned, studying the readings more carefully. As the only human on the prestigious medical station orbiting Proxima Centauri, she often found herself at odds with her colleagues' acceptance of limitations. Humans had only joined the Galactic Federation 50 years ago, and their medical technology was still considered primitive by most standards. Yet Elena had seen what human determination and innovation could accomplish when others gave up hope. What about neural bridging? Elena asked, her voice cutting through the quiet discussion among the other doctors. Dr. Kethvar's crystalline head turned toward her with what might have been amusement. Human, your species has barely mastered faster than light travel. Neural bridging requires quantum-level manipulation of synaptic connections. Even our most advanced cetacean mind healers cannot repair damage of this magnitude. The other physicians nodded in agreement. The cetaceans were renowned throughout the galaxy for their mental abilities, capable of healing psychological trauma and minor neural damage through pure telepathic intervention. If they couldn't help Lyra, conventional wisdom suggested nothing could. Elena approached Lyra's bedside, noting how the young Zephyrian's normally luminescent scales had dulled with years of depression and resignation. Zephyrians were known for their grace and agility, their society built around elaborate aerial dances and mountain climbing. For Lyra, losing her legs meant losing her entire cultural identity. Lyra, Elena said softly, placing a gentle hand on the patient's arm. I know you've heard this before, but I want you to know that I'm not giving up on you. Lyra's large, opalescent eyes met Elena's. Dr. Vasquez, I appreciate your kindness, but 10 years of failed treatments have taught me acceptance. The best physicians in the galaxy have tried everything. Not everything, Elena replied, her mind already racing with possibilities. Humans approach problems differently. We don't always accept what others consider impossible. That evening, Elena retreated to her private laboratory aboard the medical station. The cramped space was filled with equipment she had built herself, combining human ingenuity with advanced alien materials. While other species in the Federation had evolved beyond the need for crude mechanical solutions, humans still possessed an almost instinctive ability to engineer their way around obstacles. She pulled up research files from Earth's medical archives, studying cases of spinal cord injuries that had been considered hopeless until human innovation found new approaches. Brain-computer interfaces, neural implants, exoskeletons controlled by thought alone, humanity had a long history of refusing to accept biological limitations. But Lyra's case was different. Zephyrian physiology was far more complex than human anatomy. Their nervous systems operated on quantum frequencies that human technology couldn't easily replicate. Elena needed to find a way to bridge the gap between human innovation and alien biology. Her computer chimed with an incoming message from Dr. Sarah Chen on Earth. Elena had sent her old colleague Lyra's medical files, hoping for a fresh perspective. Elena, Sarah's recorded message began, I've reviewed the case. You're right to be optimistic. I've been working on something that might help, a hybrid neural interface that combines human neural engineering with quantum resonance technology we've acquired from the vegan traders. It's still experimental, but the principles might work for Zephyrian physiology. Elena's heart raced as Sarah continued explaining the technology. The interface would create an artificial neural pathway using quantum-entangled particles, essentially bypassing the damaged spinal cord entirely. Instead of trying to repair the biological connections, they would create a technological bridge that could translate neural signals from the brain to the legs. The next morning, Elena presented her proposal to the medical board. The conference room fell silent as she explained the theoretical framework, displaying holographic models of the proposed neural interface. "This is highly experimental," Dr. Kethvar stated, his crystalline features reflecting the holographic light. "Human technology has never been tested on Zephyrian neural systems. The risks are enormous." "The risks of doing nothing are also enormous," Elena countered. "Lyra has lost hope. She's withdrawing from society, from life itself. If we can offer her even a chance of mobility, isn't it worth trying?" Dr. Yinthala, an elderly Syrian physician known for her wisdom, leaned forward. "Dr. Vasquez, your species' reputation for persistence is well known throughout the galaxy. Some call it admirable, others call it reckless. What makes you believe this approach will succeed where others have failed?" Elena took a deep breath. "Because humans don't just treat symptoms, we redesign the entire problem. Every other attempt has tried to fix what was broken. I'm proposing we build something entirely new." The debate continued for hours. Some physicians worried about the untested technology. Others questioned whether human engineering could be safely integrated with Zephyrian biology. But Elena's passion and detailed research gradually won over the skeptics. Finally, Dr. Yinthala spoke again. "The patient must give informed consent. If Lyra agrees to the experimental treatment, and if you can demonstrate the technology's safety in laboratory conditions, we will consider approval for the procedure." Elena's hands trembled slightly as she left the conference room. She had convinced the medical board to consider the treatment, but now she faced an even greater challenge, convincing Lyra to trust in human innovation when 10 years of advanced alien medicine had failed her. That afternoon, Elena sat beside Lyra's bed, explaining the proposed treatment in simple terms. She showed holographic displays of how the neural interface would work, how quantum particles could carry signals from brain to legs faster than natural nerve impulses. "You want to put human technology in my spine?" Lyra asked, her voice filled with uncertainty. "Not just human technology," Elena explained. "It's a fusion of human engineering principles with quantum technology from across the galaxy. We're not trying to fix your damaged nerves, we're building you a completely new neural pathway." Lyra was quiet for a long moment, staring at the ceiling. 10 years ago, I was chosen to represent my homeworld in the Galactic Athletics Championships. I was training for the aerial grace competition, a dance performed while climbing the crystal peaks of Zephyr Prime. Then, the mining accident happened, and, suddenly, I couldn't even stand. Elena listened patiently as Lyra continued. "Every doctor has promised hope. Every treatment has failed. Why should this be different?" "Because," Elena said, leaning forward, "humans specialize in the impossible. My species spent millions of years bound to one planet, told that faster-than-light travel was impossible, that we'd never reach the stars. Then, we figured out how to fold space itself. We don't accept limitations the same way other species do." Lyra turned her head to study Elena's face. "You really believe this could work?" "I believe it's worth trying," Elena replied honestly. "I can't promise success, but I can promise that I won't give up on you." Over the following weeks, Elena worked tirelessly in her laboratory, refining the neural interface design. She collaborated with engineers on Earth, quantum physicists from Vega, and even cetacean mind healers who offered insights into the nature of consciousness and neural connectivity. The interface itself was a marvel of hybrid engineering. Quantum processors no larger than rice grains would be implanted along Lyra's spine, creating a network of artificial synapses. These processors would be entangled with a primary control unit implanted at the base of her skull, allowing for instantaneous communication between her brain and the lower portions of her body. But the real innovation lay in the interface software. Elena had developed algorithms that could learn and adapt to Zephyrian neural patterns, essentially teaching the artificial network to speak the same quantum language as Lyra's natural nervous system. Dr. Kethvar observed one of Elena's laboratory tests with obvious skepticism. "Your artificial neurons can transmit signals," he admitted, "but consciousness is more than electrical impulses. The Zephyrian mind operates on levels your instruments cannot detect." Elena smiled, pulling up a new display. That's why I've incorporated cetacean mind healing principles into the interface design. The quantum processors don't just transmit signals, they resonate with the patient's consciousness itself. As word of the experimental treatment spread through the medical station, Elena found herself facing criticism from unexpected quarters. Dr. Marcus Webb, a human physician who had arrived the previous year, confronted her in the corridor outside her laboratory. "Elena, you're making all of us look bad," he said, his voice tense with frustration. "Humans are already seen as the newcomers, the primitive species trying to prove ourselves. If this treatment fails spectacularly, it'll set back human medical credibility for decades." Elena paused, understanding his concerns. "Marcus, if we only try treatments we know will succeed, we'll never push the boundaries of what's possible. Lyra is willing to take the risk. Shouldn't we be willing to take it with her? But what if something goes wrong? What if the interface damages her neural tissue permanently? What if it works?" Elena interrupted. "What if we give her back the life she lost? What if we show the galaxy that human innovation can solve problems that pure technology cannot?" Marcus shook his head. "You're gambling with a patient's life to prove a point about human ingenuity." "I'm gambling with a patient's life to give her hope," Elena corrected. "There's a difference." As the weeks passed, Elena's confidence in the treatment grew. Laboratory tests showed that the quantum processors could successfully interface with Zephyrian neural tissue without rejection. The algorithms she had developed were learning to interpret and translate Zephyrian neural signals with increasing accuracy. But the real test would come when they attempted to implant the interface in a living patient. The surgery would require precise placement of dozens of quantum processors along the damaged sections of Lyra's spine, each one calibrated to her specific neural frequency. The night before the scheduled surgery, Elena found herself unable to sleep. She walked through the station's observation deck, staring out at the stars that humanity had only recently learned to reach. Somewhere among those distant lights was Earth, where her species had first learned to dream of the impossible and, then, make it reality. Her communicator chimed softly. It was a message from her mentor, Dr. James Harrison, who had taught her that medicine was as much about hope as it was about science. "Elena," his recorded voice said, "I've been following your work with the Zephyrian patient. Remember what I always told you, we don't treat diseases, we treat people. And, sometimes, the most important medicine we can offer is the belief that tomorrow can be better than today." Elena smiled, feeling some of her anxiety fade. Tomorrow, she would either make history or face devastating failure. But, regardless of the outcome, she knew she was honoring the best traditions of human medicine, the refusal to accept defeat, and the willingness to risk everything for the chance to heal. As she prepared to return to her quarters, Elena noticed Lyra in the common area, sitting in her mobility chair and staring out at the same stars. The young Zephyrian scales had begun to show hints of their former luminescence as hope slowly returned to her life. "Nervous about tomorrow?" Elena asked, approaching quietly. Lyra nodded. "Terrified, actually. But also excited. For the first time in 10 years, I'm thinking about what I might do instead of what I can't do." Elena sat beside her, both of them gazing out at the infinite expanse of space. "You know, my people have a saying, the impossible just takes a little longer. Tomorrow, we're going to prove that's true." Lyra's opalescent eyes reflected the starlight as she smiled. "Thank you, Dr. Vasquez. Not just for the treatment, but for showing me that sometimes the best solutions come from the most unexpected places." As Elena finally headed to bed, she carried with her the weight of responsibility and the lightness of hope. In a few hours, she would attempt something that had never been tried before, bridging the gap between human innovation and alien biology, between despair and possibility. The greatest test of her career, and perhaps of human medical science itself, was about to begin. The surgical suite aboard the Proxima medical station hummed with advanced technology from a dozen different worlds. Holographic displays showed real-time neural activity while quantum scanners mapped every atom of Lyra's spinal column. Elena stood at the center of it all, her hands steady despite the magnitude of what she was about to attempt. Patient is stable and ready for neural interface implantation, announced Dr. Yinthala, who had volunteered to assist despite her initial skepticism. The elderly Syrian's six-fingered hands moved gracefully over the monitoring equipment, her centuries of experience evident in every gesture. Elena looked down at Lyra, who was conscious but sedated enough to remain comfortable during the procedure. Zephyrian physiology required the patient to be awake so that neural responses could be monitored in real time. Lyra's opalescent eyes met Elena's, filled with a mixture of fear and hope. "Remember," Elena said softly, "I need you to try to move your legs when I ask. The interface needs to learn your neural patterns, and that can only happen if you're actively attempting movement." Lyra nodded weakly. "I understand. 10 years of trying to move legs that won't respond, I'm good at that part." The first phase of the surgery involved placing the primary control unit at the base of Lyra's skull. Elena used a combination of human precision tools and Arcturian molecular manipulators to create a space just large enough for the quantum processor. The device itself was barely visible to the naked eye, its crystalline structure containing technology that represented the best of three different civilizations. "Neural Interface Control Unit is in position," Elena announced. "Beginning quantum entanglement with spinal processors." Dr. Kethvar observed from the surgical gallery, his crystalline features reflecting the various displays. Despite his earlier skepticism, he had volunteered to monitor the procedure's quantum signatures, ensuring that the artificial neural network wouldn't interfere with Lyra's natural brain functions. "Quantum coherence is stable," he reported. "The entanglement field is holding at optimal frequencies." Elena began the delicate process of placing the spinal processors. Each device had to be positioned precisely along the damaged neural pathways, creating a network of artificial synapses that would bridge the gap between Lyra's brain and her legs. The human-designed algorithms would learn to interpret Zephyrian neural signals and translate them into movement commands. "First spinal processor is active," Elena announced as she completed the placement. "Lyra, I need you to try to move your right leg." Lyra closed her eyes, concentrating on a movement she hadn't felt in a decade. The quantum processors immediately began recording the neural signals generated by her attempt, learning the unique patterns of her Zephyrian consciousness. "Remarkable," Dr. Yinthala whispered, studying the neural activity displays. "The artificial synapses are already beginning to resonate with her natural neural frequency." Elena continued placing processors along Lyra's spine, each one adding another layer to the artificial neural network. The quantum entanglement between devices created an instantaneous communication system faster than biological nerve impulses. If the treatment worked, Lyra would actually have better response time than she'd had before her injury. "Processor 12 is online," Elena reported, sweat beading on her forehead despite the cool temperature of the surgical suite. "Lyra, try to wiggle your toes." Lyra concentrated, sending the familiar mental command that had produced no response for 10 years. This time, the quantum processors detected her neural pattern and began learning to associate it with the intended movement. "The learning algorithms are adapting faster than projected," Dr. Kethvar reported, surprise evident in his crystalline voice. "Human computational methods are surprisingly effective." As Elena placed the final processors, she noticed something unexpected happening. The quantum devices weren't just learning to interpret Lyra's neural signals, they were beginning to enhance them. The artificial network was amplifying weak signals that her damaged nervous system had been unable to transmit effectively. "Neural signal strength is increasing," Dr. Yinthala observed. "The quantum processors are not merely bridging the gap, they're optimizing the entire pathway." Elena felt a surge of excitement but forced herself to remain focused. The most critical phase was yet to come, activating the complete network and testing whether the artificial neural pathways could actually control movement. "All processors are in place and online," Elena announced. "Beginning full system integration." She activated the master control algorithm, and the quantum processors throughout Lyra's spine began communicating with each other, forming a coherent artificial nervous system. The holographic displays showed neural signals racing through the quantum network at impossible speeds. "Integration complete," Elena said, her voice barely steady. "Lyra, I want you to try moving your right leg again." Lyra closed her eyes, gathering her courage. For 10 years, this attempt had resulted in nothing but frustration and reminder of her limitations. She sent the mental command to move her leg, the same signal her brain had been generating uselessly for a decade. The quantum processors detected the signal, interpreted its meaning through their learned algorithms, and transmitted movement commands to the muscles in her right leg. For the first time in 10 years, Lyra's leg twitched. The surgical suite erupted in amazed whispers. Even Dr. Kethvar leaned forward in the gallery, his usual composure forgotten. Did that actually happen? Lyra whispered, tears forming in her opalescent eyes. Try again, Elena encouraged, her own hands trembling with excitement. Focus on lifting your leg. Lyra concentrated harder, and, this time her right leg lifted several inches off the surgical table. The movement was jerky and uncertain, but it was undeniably real. After a decade of paralysis, she was moving her leg through conscious thought. The quantum interface is working perfectly, Dr. Yinthala reported, her voice filled with wonder. Neural signals are being transmitted and interpreted in real time. Elena quickly tested the left leg processors with similar success. Lyra could move both legs, though the movements were still crude and required intense concentration. The artificial neural network needed time to refine its understanding of her unique neural patterns. How long before the interface fully adapts? Dr. Kethvar asked from the gallery. Based on the learning rate we're seeing, Elena replied, I estimate full adaptation within 2 to 3 weeks. The quantum processors will continue optimizing their interpretation algorithms as Lyra practices movement. As they completed the surgery, Elena couldn't help but marvel at what they had accomplished. Human innovation had successfully interfaced with alien biology, creating something that neither species could have achieved alone. The neural bridge wasn't just a medical device, it was a symbol of what could happen when different civilizations combined their strengths. Over the following days, Elena worked with Lyra in the rehabilitation center, teaching her to use the artificial neural network effectively. The quantum processors were learning quickly, adapting to her movement patterns and preferences with each passing hour. The key is not to overthink it, Elena explained as Lyra practiced moving her legs while lying in bed. Your brain knows how to walk, it's just been unable to communicate with your legs. The interface is re-establishing that communication. Lyra nodded, focusing on a simple leg raise. The movement was smoother now, more natural. It feels strange, she admitted. I can sense the artificial network in my spine, but it's beginning to feel like part of me. Dr. Chen had arrived from Earth to observe the recovery process, bringing additional interface components and upgrades. She watched in fascination as Lyra performed increasingly complex movements. Elena, this is beyond what we imagined possible, Chen said. The interface isn't just restoring function, it's enhancing it. Lyra's neural response time is actually faster than baseline human norms. Elena nodded. The quantum processors eliminate the delay inherent in biological neural transmission. In theory, Lyra should have better motor control than she had before her injury. But the real test came when they moved from bed exercises to actual standing. Elena had designed a supportive framework that would prevent falls while allowing Lyra to practice weight-bearing movements. As they prepared for the attempt, news of the experimental treatment had spread throughout the medical station. Dr. Kethvar arrived with several other physicians from different species, all curious to witness the outcome of human medical innovation. Even Dr. Webb, who had initially opposed the treatment, was present in the rehabilitation center. Remember, Elena told Lyra as they positioned her in the support framework, the interface will help translate your movement intentions, but your muscles need to remember how to bear weight. Take it slowly. Lyra gripped the support rails, her knuckles pale with tension. For 10 years, she had been confined to a mobility chair, relying on others for assistance with basic activities. The prospect of standing under her own power seemed almost impossible to believe. I'm ready, she said, though her voice betrayed her nervousness. Elena monitored the neural interface readings as Lyra began attempting to stand. The quantum processors were working perfectly, transmitting movement commands to her leg muscles with precision. But the muscles themselves had atrophied during years of disuse, making the effort significantly more challenging. The neural signals are strong and clear, Elena reported. Muscle response is limited by physical conditioning, not interface function. Slowly, with tremendous effort, Lyra began to rise from the seated position. Her legs trembled with the unfamiliar strain of supporting her weight, but they held. For the first time in a decade, she was standing upright. By the stars, Dr. Yinthala whispered. She's actually standing. Lyra's silver scales began to glow with increasing luminescence as her emotional state improved. Zephyrian scales responded to their owner's feelings, and the radiant display was a clear indication of her joy and amazement. How does it feel? Elena asked, monitoring both the neural interface and Lyra's vital signs. Like coming back to life, Lyra replied, tears streaming down her face. I can feel my legs again. I can control them. I can stand. The assembled physicians watched in amazed silence as Lyra maintained her standing position for several minutes. The quantum neural interface was functioning flawlessly, translating her conscious movement intentions into precise muscle control. Dr. Kethvar approached Elena, his crystalline features reflecting the light from Lyra's luminescent scales. Dr. Vasquez, I must admit that I doubted the wisdom of this approach. Human methods seemed crude compared to our advanced medical technology. I was wrong. Elena smiled. Different doesn't mean inferior, Dr. Kethvar. Sometimes the most advanced solution isn't the most effective one. Over the following weeks, Lyra's progress accelerated dramatically. The quantum processors continued learning and optimizing, while her muscles gradually regained strength through carefully structured exercise programs. Elena had designed a rehabilitation protocol that combined human physical therapy techniques with Zephyrian movement patterns. Today we're going to try walking, Elena announced during one of their sessions. The interface has adapted to your neural patterns completely. Your leg strength has improved significantly. I think you're ready. Lyra looked both excited and terrified. Standing was one thing, but walking would require complex coordination between multiple muscle groups, balance adjustments, and rapid neural processing. It would be the ultimate test of the artificial neural network's capabilities. Elena had arranged for additional safety measures, including a harness system that would prevent falls while allowing natural movement. Dr. Chen stood by with monitoring equipment while Dr. Yinthala observed from nearby, ready to provide assistance if needed. Start with small steps, Elena instructed. The interface will handle the neural coordination, but let your body remember the rhythm of walking. Lyra took a deep breath and lifted her right foot, placing it a few inches forward. The quantum processors instantly calculated balance adjustments, sending signals to her core muscles to maintain stability. She shifted her weight forward and repeated the motion with her left foot. She was walking. Slowly and carefully, but undeniably walking. The rehabilitation center fell silent except for the soft sound of Lyra's footsteps. Each step was a triumph over a decade of limitation, a victory for human innovation and alien courage combined. The neural integration is perfect, Dr. Chen whispered, watching the real-time interface readings. Signal transmission, muscle coordination, balance adjustments, everything is functioning at optimal levels. Lyra completed a full circuit of the rehabilitation area, her confidence growing with each step. Her luminescent scales blazed brighter than anyone had seen them in years, creating beautiful patterns across her silver skin. Dr. Vasquez, she said as she completed her walk, I don't know how to thank you. You've given me back my life. Elena felt tears forming in her own eyes. You gave me the chance to prove that impossible things are just challenges waiting for the right solution. Dr. Webb approached Elena after the session, his expression a mixture of admiration and apology. I was wrong to discourage this research, he admitted. You've not only helped Lyra, you've shown the entire galaxy what human medical innovation can accomplish. As news of Lyra's successful treatment spread throughout the medical station and beyond, Elena found herself fielding questions from physicians across the galaxy. The human approach to neural interface technology had opened new possibilities for treating conditions that had been considered incurable. But, for Elena, the greatest satisfaction came from watching Lyra regain her independence and confidence. The young Zephyrian was already talking about returning to her homeworld, perhaps even attempting some of the aerial grace performances that had once defined her life. The quantum neural interface had proven that human innovation could bridge any gap, between species, between limitation and possibility, between despair and hope. And this was only the beginning of what such technology might accomplish. 3 months after the successful neural interface surgery, Lyra stood at the viewing window of the transport ship heading toward Zephyr Prime, her silver scales shimmering with anticipation. Elena stood beside her, amazed at how far they had both come since that first conversation about impossible dreams becoming reality. "Are you sure about this?" Elena asked, watching Lyra perform subtle balance exercises that would have been unthinkable just months ago. Returning to competitive aerial grace is a significant step from walking in a medical facility. Lyra's opalescent eyes sparkled with determination. "The neural interface has given me more than just the ability to walk, Dr. Vasquez. It's given me precision and control I never had before my accident. The quantum processors react faster than biological nerves ever could." Elena nodded, reviewing the data she had collected during Lyra's recovery. The artificial neural network had exceeded every expectation, adapting not just to basic movement but to complex motor skills that required split-second timing and perfect coordination. Lyra wasn't just walking again, she was moving with a grace and precision that surpassed her pre-injury abilities. Dr. Chen had remained at the medical station to continue research into neural interface applications for other species, but she had provided Elena with portable monitoring equipment to track Lyra's performance during this crucial test. The success of the treatment had already attracted attention from medical institutions across the galaxy, but proving that it could restore someone to elite athletic performance would revolutionize the field. "The Zephyrian Athletic Council has agreed to evaluate your abilities," Elena said, checking her data pad. "If they clear you for competition, you could be eligible for next year's Galactic Championships." Lyra's scales brightened noticeably. 10 years ago, I was favored to win the aerial grace competition. The accident happened just 3 weeks before the trials." She paused, touching the small external interface unit that Elena had designed to allow real-time monitoring of the quantum processors. "Part of me wonders if this is better than what I had before." Elena had been wondering the same thing. The neural interface didn't just restore function, it enhanced it. The quantum processors could react to neural signals faster than biological synapses, providing superhuman response times. Combined with the learning algorithms that continued to optimize performance, Lyra might actually be capable of feats impossible for unaugmented Zephyrians. "There's something I need to discuss with you," Elena said seriously. "The Athletic Council is concerned about fair competition. Some officials consider the neural interface to be technological enhancement rather than medical treatment." Lyra's expression grew troubled. "Are you saying they might not allow me to compete?" "I'm saying we need to be prepared for that possibility," Elena replied. "The distinction between treatment and enhancement isn't always clear, especially when the treatment results in capabilities beyond normal baseline." As their transport approached Zephyr Prime, Elena marveled at the planet's stunning beauty. Crystalline mountain ranges pierced through layers of luminescent clouds, their peaks glowing with natural bioluminescence. It was a world designed for beings who could move through three-dimensional space with effortless grace, and Elena understood why losing that ability had been so devastating for Lyra. The spaceport buzzed with activity as news of Lyra's return spread through the Zephyrian community. Many had followed her story through galactic news networks, and her successful treatment had become a symbol of hope for others facing similar challenges. But Elena also noticed skeptical looks from some observers, particularly older Zephyrians who viewed technological augmentation with suspicion. "Lyra Moon Whisper," came a formal voice as they disembarked. "I am Coordinator Zenthali of the Athletic Council. We are here to evaluate your current capabilities." Zenthali was an impressive figure, even by Zephyrian standards. Her scales were deep blue-silver, indicating advanced age and wisdom, and her movements possessed the fluid precision of a master aerial dancer. Several other council members accompanied her, along with medical observers and performance analysts. "Coordinator Zenthali," Lyra replied, executing a traditional Zephyrian greeting that involved complex hand gestures and posture adjustments. Elena was amazed to see how naturally the movements flowed. The neural interface was handling even cultural expressions with perfect precision. We understand that you wish to return to competitive aerial grace, Zenthali continued. This is unprecedented. No athlete has ever returned to elite competition after such severe neural damage. Elena stepped forward. Coordinator, if I may address the Council's concerns about technological enhancement. The neural interface is purely restorative. It translates Lyra's natural neural signals into movement commands, nothing more. But, the precision of those translations exceeds biological capability, does it not? Challenged another council member, his scales flickering with skepticism. Reports suggest response times beyond normal Zephyrian limits. The interface optimizes signal transmission, Elena admitted. But, it's still interpreting Lyra's own neural patterns. She generates every movement command through her natural thought processes. The evaluation began at the primary training facility in the Crystal Peaks region. Elena had never seen anything like it, a vast complex of translucent platforms and suspension bridges stretching across a chasm between mountain peaks. The training area existed in a three-dimensional space that challenged every human concept of sports facilities. We will begin with basic movement assessment, Zenthali announced. Please demonstrate fundamental aerial positioning. Lyra approached the edge of a crystal platform, looking out over the glowing chasm below. Elena's heart raced as she realized her patient was about to attempt movements that would be terrifying even for an uninjured Zephyrian. With fluid grace, Lyra leaped from the platform, her arms spread wide as she soared through the air toward a distant suspension point. The neural interface calculated trajectory and muscle adjustments with quantum precision, allowing her to land perfectly on a narrow crystal beam 50 meters away. Remarkable, one of the council members whispered. Her flight form is technically perfect. Elena monitored the neural interface readings from reportable equipment. The quantum processors were working flawlessly, translating Lyra's movement intentions into precise muscle control. But, more importantly, Lyra was clearly enjoying herself for the first time in years. Her scales blazed with luminescent patterns that indicated pure joy. The evaluation continued with increasingly complex maneuvers. Lyra performed spinning leaps between platforms, executed precise aerial rotations, and demonstrated the kind of three-dimensional spatial awareness that had made her a championship contender before her accident. Her technical scores exceed her pre-injury baselines, reported the performance analyst, reviewing the data from motion sensors throughout the facility. Precision, timing, and coordination are all at elite levels. But, Elena noticed tension among the council members. While Lyra's performance was undeniably impressive, the quantum-enhanced precision was clearly beyond what natural Zephyrian reflexes could achieve. Dr. Vasquez, Zenthali said during a break in the evaluation, your achievement in restoring Lyra's mobility is remarkable. However, we must consider whether allowing her to compete would be fair to other athletes. Elena had been preparing for this moment. Coordinator, I'd like to propose a demonstration that might address your concerns about enhancement versus restoration. She produced a small device from her medical kit, a neural signal dampener that could temporarily reduce the interface's optimization algorithms. This will limit the quantum processors to purely restorative function, eliminating any performance enhancement beyond normal biological capabilities. Lyra looked uncertain. Will it be safe? Completely safe, Elena assured her. It will simply prevent the interface from optimizing your neural signals. You'll still have full mobility, but without the enhanced precision. The council agreed to observe Lyra's performance with the dampener active. As Elena activated the device, she watched the neural interface readings change. The quantum processors continued translating movement commands, but without their normal optimization algorithms. Lyra repeated several of the aerial grace maneuvers she had performed earlier. Her movements were still fluid and controlled, but the superhuman precision was gone. She was performing at the level of a talented but not exceptional Zephyrian athlete. Interesting, Zenthali observed. With dampening, her performance is within normal parameters for competitive athletes. Without dampening, she exceeds them significantly. Elena seized the moment.
The interface can be configured for either mode, pure restoration or optimized enhancement.
For competitive purposes, we could permanently set it to restoration mode only. The council members conferred quietly among themselves while Lyra continued her demonstration. Elena could see the internal conflict on their faces. They wanted to support Lyra's return to competition, but they also had to protect the integrity of their sport.
There is another consideration, Xanthali said finally.
Lyra's story has inspired countless individuals across the galaxy who face similar challenges.
Excluding her from competition might discourage others from seeking innovative treatments. Elena felt a surge of hope.
The Athletic Council was beginning to understand that this decision would impact far more than just one athlete's career. "I propose a trial period," suggested one of the younger council members.
"Allow Lyra to compete in exhibition matches with the interface set to restoration mode.
If other competitors and the public accept this approach, we can consider full reinstatement." Over the following weeks, Lyra participated in several exhibition aerial grace performances. The events drew unprecedented crowds, with beings from across the galaxy traveling to witness the athlete who had walked again after 10 years of paralysis. Elena observed from the audience, monitoring the neural interface's performance and marveling at Lyra's growing confidence. The exhibitions were more than athletic demonstrations, they became celebrations of possibility, proof that limitations could be overcome through innovation and determination. Lyra's performances inspired other injured athletes to explore new treatment options, and Elena found herself consulting on neural interface applications for different species.
"You've created something remarkable, Dr. Yunthala told Elena during one of her visits to observe the exhibitions. "Not just a medical device, but a symbol of hope." Elena nodded, watching Lyra execute a flawless aerial sequence that would have been impossible just months earlier. Human engineering combined with alien courage and wisdom from across the galaxy. It's what the Federation is supposed to represent.
The breakthrough came when Lyra performed in an exhibition match against several current championship competitors. The event was broadcast across the galaxy, with medical experts and sports analysts providing commentary on the neural interface technology.
"Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all species," announced the Zephyrian commentator, "what we are witnessing today represents the triumph of collaborative medicine. The human physician who created this treatment has shown us that impossible challenges are simply opportunities for innovation." Lyra's performance that day was flawless.
Moving with perfect grace through complex aerial sequences, she demonstrated that technological restoration could coexist with natural talent and years of training. When she completed her routine, the crowd erupted in applause that lasted for several minutes. More importantly, her competitors embraced her return. They had watched her decade-long struggle and understood that her success represented hope for anyone facing similar challenges.
"The council has reached a decision," Xanthali announced after the exhibition.
Lyra Moon Whisper is hereby reinstated as an eligible competitor in all Zephyrian athletic events, with the condition that her neural interface remains configured for restoration rather than enhancement.
Elena felt tears forming in her eyes as she watched Lyra's scales blaze with patterns of pure joy.
They had done more than restore mobility, they had proven that the boundaries between species, between natural and technological, between limitation and possibility, were far more flexible than anyone had imagined.
"Dr. Vasquez," Lyra said as they celebrated the decision, "I want you to know that this is about more than just competition for me. Every time I perform, I'm proving that others can overcome their limitations too." Elena nodded, understanding that their work together had transcended medical treatment.
The neural interface had become a symbol of human innovation's potential to solve problems that others considered impossible, and proof that the best solutions often came from combining the strengths of different species and cultures. As they prepared to leave Zephyr Prime, Elena reflected on how much had changed since that first conversation in the medical station. Lyra was no longer just a patient who had regained mobility, she had become an ambassador for possibility itself, demonstrating that human determination and alien courage could overcome any obstacle when they worked together. 1 year later, the Galactic Championships arena on Nexus Prime buzzed with unprecedented excitement. Representatives from hundreds of worlds had gathered to witness what many considered the most anticipated athletic event in Federation history, Lyra Moonwhisper's first competitive performance since her neural interface restoration. Elena stood in the medical observation area, surrounded by physicians and researchers from across the galaxy who had come to study the neural interface technology in action. The portable monitoring station she had developed now displayed not just Lyra's performance data, but also readings from 17 other athletes who had received similar treatments in the months following Lyra's successful surgery. The neural interface network is performing at optimal efficiency, reported Dr. Chen, who had arrived from Earth with upgrades to the quantum processing algorithms.
All athletes are showing stable neural integration with no adverse effects.
Elena nodded, but her attention remained focused on Lyra, who was preparing for the aerial grace competition in the staging area below. The young Zephyrian scales glowed with confident patterns as she performed warm-up exercises that demonstrated the perfect fusion of natural talent and technological restoration.
Dr. Vasquez, came a familiar crystalline voice. Elena turned to see Dr. Kethvar approaching with a delegation of Arcturian medical officials. The Galactic Medical Council has approved your neural interface design for widespread implementation. The first interspecies treatment center will be established on Proxima Station within 6 months. The news filled Elena with satisfaction, but also with a sense of responsibility. What had begun as an experimental treatment for one patient had evolved into a revolutionary medical technology that was changing lives across the galaxy. There's something else, Dr. Kethvar continued, his tone becoming more serious. The hegemony has expressed interest in adapting your neural interface technology for military applications. Their representatives are here today, observing the championships. Elena's expression darkened. The hegemony was a militaristic alliance of species that had often clashed with Federation values, viewing technological innovation primarily as a tool for gaining strategic advantage. The thought of her medical breakthrough being weaponized was deeply troubling. The technology is designed for healing, Elena said firmly. I won't allow it to be perverted into an instrument of war. The choice may not be yours to make, Dr. Kethvar replied regretfully. Once knowledge exists, controlling its application becomes increasingly difficult. Elena was about to respond when the arena's announcement system activated, drawing everyone's attention to the competition below. Athletes and spectators, welcome to the 2157 Galactic Championships Aerial Grace Competition. Today we witness the culmination of a remarkable journey of recovery, innovation, and determination. Elena watched as 12 competitors took their positions at various starting points throughout the three-dimensional arena. The Nexus Prime facility was a masterpiece of engineering, featuring gravity fields that could be adjusted to accommodate the athletic needs of different species while maintaining fair competition standards. Competing in Lane 7, representing Zephyr Prime and the triumph of collaborative medicine, Lyra Moonwhisper, the announcer continued. The crowd's response was thunderous. Beings from across the galaxy cheered for the athlete who had become a symbol of overcoming impossible odds. Elena noticed that many spectators wore small pins displaying the neural interface symbol, a crystalline network representing the connection between consciousness and possibility. Neural interface readings are stable across all augmented athletes, Dr. Chen reported. The quantum processors are maintaining perfect calibration. Elena had spent the past year refining the technology and training physicians from different worlds to perform the neural interface surgery. The 17 other competitors using the technology represented various species and types of neural damage, from Syrian pilots who had suffered cerebral trauma to vegan athletes with genetic motor disorders. This is unprecedented, observed Dr. Yinthala, who had traveled from the medical station to witness the championships. For the first time in Galactic Federation history, we have athletic competition that includes both natural and restored abilities competing on equal terms. The aerial grace competition began with preliminary routines designed to showcase each athlete's technical proficiency and artistic expression. Elena watched in fascination as competitors from different worlds demonstrated their unique approaches to three-dimensional movement. Lyra's routine was scheduled for the middle of the competition order, allowing Elena to observe how the other neural interface recipients performed. She was pleased to see that each athlete had adapted the technology to their species' specific movement patterns and cultural expressions.
Dr. Vasquez, interrupted a harsh voice behind her. Elena turned to see a group of beings she didn't recognize, tall, angular creatures with metallic skin and cold, calculating eyes. I am Commander Vex Thor of the Hegemony Military Research Division. We need to discuss your neural interface technology. Elena's blood ran cold. The Hegemony representative had approached her during the championships, clearly intending to pressure her when she couldn't easily escape or refuse the conversation. This is a medical facility during an athletic event, Elena replied calmly. This is neither the time nor the place for military discussions. On the contrary, Vex Thor replied, his metallic features reflecting the arena lights. This is exactly the right time. We are witnessing enhanced beings performing at superhuman levels. The military applications are obvious. Elena noticed that Dr. Kethvar and several other physicians had moved closer, sensing the tension in the conversation. The neural interface restores damaged function, Elena said firmly. It doesn't create superhuman soldiers. But it could, Vex Thor pressed. Enhanced reaction times, perfect muscle coordination, quantum speed neural processing. Imagine what warriors could accomplish with such technology. Imagine what healers are accomplishing with it right now, Elena countered, gesturing toward the arena where Lyra was beginning her routine. The conversation was interrupted by a gasp from the crowd as Lyra launched herself into her opening sequence. Elena's attention immediately shifted to the performance, but she remained acutely aware of the Hegemony commander's presence. Lyra's routine was breathtaking. Moving through complex three-dimensional patterns with impossible grace, she demonstrated perfect control over every aspect of her movement. The neural interface was working flawlessly, translating her artistic vision into physical reality with quantum precision. Look at that control, Vex Thor murmured appreciatively. Perfect spatial awareness, instantaneous reaction times, flawless execution. The military potential is enormous. Elena felt a surge of anger but forced herself to remain calm. You're missing the point entirely. This isn't about creating enhanced beings, it's about restoring wholeness to those who have lost it. Restoration that results in enhancement, Vex Thor replied. The distinction is irrelevant. As Lyra's routine continued, Elena noticed something unexpected happening. The other competitors, those without neural interfaces, were performing at levels beyond their previous capabilities. The presence of the enhanced athletes seemed to be inspiring everyone to reach new heights of achievement. Dr. Vasquez, Dr. Chen whispered urgently, I'm detecting anomalous readings from the arena's biometric sensors. The non-augmented athletes are showing neural activity patterns I've never seen before. Elena quickly accessed the diagnostic displays, studying the unexpected data. The neural patterns were remarkable, the unaugmented athletes were somehow accessing enhanced performance states, as if witnessing the quantum-enhanced movements was teaching their brains new possibilities. This is incredible, Dr. Yinthala observed, studying the readings over Elena's shoulder. The neural interface technology isn't just helping the augmented athletes, it's inspiring breakthrough performance in natural competitors as well. Elena realized they were witnessing something unprecedented. The neural interfaces weren't just restoring function or enhancing individuals, they were elevating the potential of everyone around them. The technology was acting as a catalyst for advancement across species lines. Lyra completed her routine with a finale that left the entire arena speechless. Executing a series of movements that seemed to defy physics, she demonstrated perfect harmony between consciousness, technology, and artistic expression. When she landed on the central platform, the crowd erupted in the longest ovation in championship history. Preliminary scoring shows a perfect technical performance, announced the competition officials. Artistic scores are equally exceptional. Elena felt tears of pride forming in her eyes, but her moment of joy was interrupted by Vex Thor's continued presence. That performance proves my point, the Hegemony commander insisted. Such capabilities would revolutionize warfare. The Hegemony is prepared to offer substantial resources for exclusive access to the technology. The technology isn't for sale, Elena replied firmly. It's medical knowledge that belongs to all species. Everything has a price, Dr. Vasquez. Consider our offer carefully. Before Elena could respond,
she noticed a commotion in the arena below.
Several officials were gathered around one of the unaugmented competitors, a young Syrian who had apparently achieved an impossible performance score without any technological assistance.
"Dr. Vasquez," called Dr. Kethvar urgently, "we need you in the arena. Something extraordinary is happening."
Elena left the observation area and hurried down to the competition floor, leaving the hegemony delegation behind. She found the young Syrian athlete, Zatharis, surrounded by medical personnel who were trying to understand his unprecedented performance. "I don't understand what happened," Zatharis said, his blue crystalline features reflecting confusion and wonder. "During my routine, I felt like I could sense the quantum patterns of the augmented athletes.
My movements became more precise than they've ever been."
Elena quickly connected her portable neural scanner to the athlete, studying his brain activity patterns. What she found was astounding. His neural pathways were showing traces of quantum coherence, as if exposure to the enhanced athletes had somehow elevated his own consciousness.
"This is remarkable," she whispered to Dr. Chen. "The quantum fields generated by the neural interfaces are creating sympathetic resonance in nearby brains.
The technology is having effects beyond the direct recipients."
Dr. Chen nodded excitedly.
"It's like the quantum consciousness is becoming contagious, spreading enhanced awareness to anyone in proximity."
As they continued studying the phenomenon, Elena realized that the neural interface technology had implications far beyond medical restoration.
It was apparently capable of elevating consciousness itself, creating new possibilities for collaboration and achievement across species lines.
"Dr. Vasquez," Zatharis said earnestly, "whatever is happening, I want you to know that it feels incredible.
Like my mind has expanded to encompass new dimensions of possibility." Elena smiled, understanding that they had stumbled upon something that could transform not just medicine, but the very nature of consciousness and cooperation in the galaxy. But, as she glanced back toward the observation area and saw Vexthor watching intently, she also realized that the implications of this discovery would attract attention from those who might seek to exploit it for less benevolent purposes. The championships were about to conclude with the final scoring, but Elena knew that the real competition was just beginning, a race between those who would use this technology to heal and elevate, and those who would seek to weaponize and control it. The future of neural interface technology, and perhaps the galaxy itself, would depend on which vision ultimately prevailed. 6 months after the Galactic Championships, Elena stood before the Federation Council in the Grand Assembly Hall on Unity Station, preparing to defend the future of neural interface technology against those who would pervert its purpose. The chamber was packed with representatives from hundreds of worlds, all waiting to hear arguments that would determine whether her breakthrough would heal the galaxy or become another tool of war. "The Federation recognizes Dr. Elena Vasquez of Earth," announced Speaker Yathmak, the ancient cetacean whose telepathic abilities allowed him to moderate discussions among species with vastly different communication methods.
Elena took a deep breath, knowing that Lyra and the 17 other neural interface recipients were watching from the gallery above.
In the months since the championships, demand for the treatment had exploded, with thousands of beings seeking restoration from conditions previously considered hopeless. "Honored representatives," Elena began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's translation systems, "I stand before you today to defend the principle that medical knowledge belongs to all beings, not to those who would weaponize it for conquest." On the opposite side of the chamber, Commander Vexthor and his hegemony delegation waited their turn to argue for exclusive military access to the technology. Their proposal was simple: grant the hegemony sole rights to neural interface research in exchange for protection against external threats to the Federation. The neural interface was created to restore hope to those who had lost it, Elena continued.
It was designed through collaboration between human innovation, Zephyrian courage, and wisdom from across the galaxy. No single faction should control technology that belongs to all of us. Dr. Kethvar rose from his seat in the medical section.
"If I may address the council, I have observed Dr. Vasquez's technology in operation for over a year. Its applications for healing are limitless, but I must also acknowledge that its potential for enhancement raises legitimate security concerns."
Elena felt a moment of concern, knowing that Kethvar's support was crucial to maintaining medical consensus around the technology.
However, Kethvar continued, "I believe those concerns are best addressed through open collaboration and ethical guidelines, not through military monopolization.
The hegemony delegation had requested to present their arguments first, and Speaker Yothmak recognized Commander Vexthor to address the council.
Representatives of the Federation, Vexthor began, his metallic voice echoing through the chamber. We face threats from beyond our borders that require enhanced capabilities to address. The neural interface technology could create soldiers capable of protecting Federation worlds from invasion.
Elena watched as holographic displays showed simulations of enhanced warriors using neural interfaces for combat applications.
The technology that had restored Lyra's ability to walk was being reimagined as a tool for creating superhuman fighters.
Consider the recent incursions by the Void Fleet, Vexthor continued.
Their biomechanical soldiers possess capabilities beyond normal Federation forces. Neural interface technology could level that battlefield, protecting innocent civilizations from conquest. Several representatives nodded in apparent agreement, and Elena realized that fear was a powerful motivator. The Void Fleet's attacks on frontier worlds had created genuine concern about Federation security.
The hegemony proposes a simple arrangement, Vexthor concluded.
Grant us exclusive development rights to neural interface military applications, and we will ensure Federation worlds remain protected.
Speaker Yothmak's telepathic abilities allowed him to sense the emotional undercurrents in the chamber.
Elena could see concern and uncertainty on many faces as representatives grappled with the security implications.
Dr. Vasquez, you may present your response, Yothmak announced.
Elena had prepared extensively for this moment, but she knew her most powerful arguments would come from personal experience rather than abstract principles. Representatives, I want to tell you about a young Zephyrian who spent 10 years believing her life was over, Elena began. Lyra Moonwhisper had lost not just her mobility, but her hope, her cultural identity, and her belief in tomorrow. The chamber's holographic display shifted to show footage of Lyra before her accident, a graceful athlete performing impossible aerial maneuvers with natural ease. Then, the display showed her in the years that followed, confined to a mobility chair, her luminescent scales dim with despair. Traditional medicine had given up on her, Elena continued. Every expert declared her condition irreversible. But human innovation, combined with knowledge from across the galaxy, found a way to restore what had been lost. New footage showed Lyra's recovery, her first tentative steps, her return to aerial grace, and, finally, her triumphant performance at the Galactic Championships. This technology exists to heal, to restore, to give hope where none existed before, Elena said passionately. In the past 6 months, we have treated over 300 patients from 47 different species. Children who couldn't walk are running. Artists who lost their abilities to create are painting again. Beings who had accepted permanent limitation are discovering new possibilities. Elena paused, letting the impact of her words settle before addressing the security concerns directly. Commander Vexthor speaks of threats that require enhanced warriors, Elena continued. But, I propose a different approach. Instead of creating better soldiers, let us create better beings. Neural interface technology can enhance cooperation, understanding, and problem-solving abilities across species lines.
Dr. Yinthala rose from her seat to support Elena's argument.
The Council should be aware that recent research has revealed unexpected effects of neural interface technology. The quantum consciousness fields appear to enhance cognitive abilities in beings who are simply exposed to interface recipients.
Elena activated a holographic display showing brain scans from the Galactic Championships.
During the competition, unaugmented athletes showed remarkable improvement in performance and coordination when competing alongside neural interface recipients. The technology isn't just helping individuals, it's elevating the potential of entire communities.
The implications were staggering.
Instead of creating enhanced individuals for military purposes, the technology could potentially raise the consciousness level of entire populations.
Dr. Vasquez, interrupted Representative Colden of the Rigelian Collective, while your humanitarian applications are admirable, the Council must consider practical security needs. How do you propose to defend Federation worlds without enhanced military capabilities? Elena had anticipated this question.
I propose that we create something the galaxy has never seen before, a collaborative defense network based on enhanced cooperation rather than enhanced weapons.
She activated new displays showing theoretical models of neural interface networks spanning multiple worlds.
Imagine Federation defenders who can coordinate with quantum precision, who share tactical awareness across vast distances, who can anticipate threats through collective intelligence. This is precisely what we propose, Vexthor interjected, but under hegemony control to ensure proper military discipline. No, Elena replied firmly.
What I'm describing isn't an army, it's an evolution.
Neural interface technology could create networks of consciousness that transcend traditional boundaries between species, between worlds, between individuals and communities. Speaker Yothmak's telepathic abilities detected rising excitement among some representatives and growing concern among others. The council was clearly divided on the implications of Elena's proposal. Dr. Chen rose from the gallery, having been granted permission to address the council as a research expert. If I may add supporting evidence, our latest research suggests that neural interface networks could create collective problem-solving capabilities beyond anything previously imagined. Instead of enhancing individuals for conflict, we could enhance civilizations for collaboration. Elena felt momentum building for her position, but she knew the security concerns were legitimate and needed to be addressed directly.
Representatives, she said, I don't dismiss the threats we face.
But I believe the best defense against forces that seek to conquer and dominate is to become something they cannot conquer, a civilization united by enhanced consciousness rather than divided by enhanced weapons.
Lyra stood up in the gallery, her luminescent scales blazing with supportive patterns.
If I may address the council, I would like to speak as someone whose life has been transformed by this technology.
Speaker Yothmak granted permission for Lyra's testimony.
10 years ago, I lost everything I thought defined me, Lyra began. Dr. Vasquez and her neural interface gave me back not just my mobility, but my belief in possibility itself.
This technology doesn't just heal bodies, it heals spirits.
Lyra's scales grew brighter as she continued.
In the months since my recovery, I've worked with other neural interface recipients from across the galaxy.
We've discovered that our enhanced connection to quantum consciousness allows us to share insights and understanding in ways that transcend language and cultural barriers. Elena watched as Lyra's words seemed to resonate with representatives from many different worlds.
The hegemony wants to use this technology to create better soldiers, Lyra concluded.
But Dr. Vasquez has shown us how to create something far more powerful, better beings.
The debate continued for hours, with representatives raising concerns about regulation, ethics, and implementation.
Elena found herself answering questions about safeguards, oversight, and the long-term implications of consciousness-enhancing technology.
Finally, Speaker Yothmak called for the preliminary vote that would determine the technology's future direction.
The question before the council is whether neural interface technology should be developed under military oversight or remain within civilian medical control, Yothmak announced. Those in favor of military control, indicate your position.
Elena held her breath as the voting displays activated.
Representatives from across the galaxy were deciding not just the fate of her invention, but potentially the future direction of galactic civilization. The results appeared on the central display: military control, 847 votes.
Medical control, 1,203 votes.
Abstentions, 156 votes. Elena felt relief flood through her as the chamber erupted in discussion.
The neural interface technology would remain under civilian control, available for healing and enhancement rather than weaponization.
However, Speaker Yothmak continued, the Council also mandates the establishment of an ethics committee to oversee neural interface development and ensure appropriate safeguards against misuse.
Elena nodded in agreement.
Ethical oversight was essential to prevent the technology from being perverted by those with harmful intentions. Commander Vexthor rose to address the chamber one final time. The hegemony accepts the Council's decision, but we reserve the right to pursue defensive neural interface applications within our own territories. Elena realized that the battle was won but not over. The hegemony would undoubtedly continue seeking ways to militarize the technology, and she would need to ensure that the medical applications remain superior to any weapons applications they might develop. As the council session concluded, Elena found herself surrounded by physicians, researchers, and representatives eager to learn more about neural interface implementation in their sectors.
The decision had opened the door for widespread medical application of the technology.
Dr. Vasquez, Speaker Yothmak approached using his mechanical translation device. Your passion for healing has impressed the council. We look forward to seeing how this technology transforms lives across the galaxy. Elena smiled, thinking about Lyra and the hundreds of other patients who would benefit from expanded access to neural interface technology.
Thank you, Speaker.
I believe we're just beginning to understand what becomes possible when we refuse to accept limitations. As she left the assembly hall, Elena reflected on the journey that had brought her to this moment. What had begun as an attempt to help one patient walk again had evolved into a technology that could reshape consciousness itself.
The future held unlimited potential for healing, growth, and collaboration across the galaxy. But Elena also knew that with great power came great responsibility.
The neural interface technology would need careful guidance to ensure it remained a force for healing rather than harm, for unity rather than division, for hope rather than fear. Walking through the station's corridors, she saw beings from dozens of species discussing the implications of enhanced consciousness, collaborative intelligence, and the possibilities that lay ahead. The galaxy was about to embark on a new chapter in its evolution, and Elena was honored to have played a role in making it possible. The young Zephyrian who had walked again after 10 years had become the first step in a journey that would transform what it meant to be conscious, connected, and alive in a universe full of infinite possibilities.